Count down now to 1, right, baby? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Straight Talk with Gilbert Thornton. This program is designed to inspire, educate, and to inform you how governments, national, state, and local, impact our lives. Tonight, I do have a good show that I'm going to discuss a lot of issues. This has been a hectic week in the whole country. That situation going on with Mr. Trump, taking documents out of the White House. And what I cannot understand, at first, the Republican people are making all type of excuses for him. When the law specifically says, the law that was passed in 1976, I believe, after Nixon resigned, that foolishness he did with the Watergate, that these records, the presidential records, should be left in the White House. Now, you have people coming up like the man was saying, like a library card. He's turning books in late where's the revelation about and relative to that situation? How is it like a library card? And one is on Rubio down there in Florida, which I hope this lady beat in, this black lady, smart lady, she's leading in the polls down there. And she was dealing with this problem. Records out the White House. They never should have been taken out the White House. And I don't understand him. And I don't understand how they're trying to defend him. And of course, that judge that gave him the right to have a special master, he appointed her to that. I apologize, we had a little technical problem. But what I was saying was that they were saying that Trump said, this is unprecedented. It was unprecedented what he did. No president in history ever did what he did. And I hope that he goes to jail. He is not above the law. Now they're talking about having a riot if he's convicted and indicted. So in other words, can go to jail except him. That man violated all of the laws that you could think of. In fact, I went, and this professor from Harvard University, an old man now, but he is brilliant as a constitutional lawyer. In fact, he taught Garland, the Attorney General. He was in his class, and he was saying that morning that Trump had already violated three felonies that he could put his hand on, that he should be convicted and in prison for what he did. So this is another delayed tactic, and I'm sure the appellate court will overturn this lady because the investigation should not stop. The investigation should move forward. Now let us speak to the situation about President Biden. I can never understand why his poll rating was so low, but now they're on the rise. Look what that man has done. Fixed them when he took over, when the pandemic was troubling this nation. He got things going great on it, and now people don't have to wear masks, schools are opening, and all of that. Not only that, he passed the rescue plan. Now he passed this climate situation that never been done. He also allowed people to be able to go to school with no problems. And he turned around and he also, the Medicaid, be able to negotiate with the drug companies for the low prescription. I have trouble in my eyes, and I had to go to the doctor, and he gave me a prescription, and he gave me a prescription for 2 medicines, and one of them about the second joint of your finger, and it cost $4, and I'm under the state program with United Healthcare, and it was still cost me. So I asked the pharmacist. I said, "Let me ask you something, Dr. Nick." I know him well, and I said, "Now, if I didn't have much, what would this medicine cost me?" He looked in the computer. It would cost me $240. Now, you take insulin. So many people in this nation have to take insulin because of the diabetes. And taking the insulin, it tried to keep them alive. This lady was on television. Her son had to have insulin. She had to spend $300 a week. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that insulin was developed over 100 years ago. They had made trillions of dollars. But thanks to Mr. Biden, now because of the passage of that law, the inflationary law, the lady will be able to buy that insulin for $35 a month. Look at the savings that lady will have to do. Thank God for that. And then, of course, Mr. Trump got all these people into him with these lies. A lady had me laughing the other day or so. A girl, they said, old saying that a lie, the truth walks and the lie ride the bus. I had to laugh. That lie gets all over the world. But I'm going to tell you about a lie. A lie is a terrible thing. But a lie and truth crushed to the ground will soon rise. Now, you take, for instance, when Jesus was crucified and he was put in the tomb, and the third day he rose from the grave, and what did the soldiers do? They went and told, and the scribes paid them money to say that he was taken by his disciples. And that lie has lasted for over 2,000 years, that the Jewish religion people still believe that they're waiting on the Messiah. They still believe that big lie. So we have to get to the truth of the matter. As far as Mr. Trump is concerned, he should have been in jail and had the audacity to say that Mr. Obama took records from the White House. Mr. Obama did not answer him, and I don't blame him. He lied about Mr. Obama wasn't born in the country. That man is about to lie to her, but he's going to soon fall. Y'all mark my word. God still runs this world. He's going to soon fall. Y'all believe me when I tell you that. Now, the thing I want to talk about tonight is, move this right here. Mm-hmm. On my book review, I like to talk about the book review because I like people to understand the things that is happening as a race of people, and we do not know the sacrifices that other peoples had made for the race, that you don't even know their names. Like that I'm fit to talk to you about. The name of this book is Civil Rights, Silver. This is a book about a lady in the Delta part of Mississippi, a county called Howard County, way down in the Delta part of Mississippi. She and her husband, they were sharecroppers people. Sharecroppers. A lot of people, high polluted people, don't do anything to me. But look at it. She and her husband, they were sharecroppers. So when the Supreme Court passed a decision in 1954 to outlaw segregation system over this country, they wanted their children to have a better chance in life and a better education. They had 13 children they had. And her name was Mary Carter, and the husband's name was Matthew Carter. They had 13 children, and they wanted to put the children in the white school. Mm-hmm. So when the suit was filed, the judge said they had to have a freedom of choice. So they said, we want our children to educate, so we're going to send them to the white schools. Because I told you in the other book last month or so about the Brown versus Board education, how much money they were spending on a black child was about $47 a child and $170-something on each white child. How terrible in a democracy. And now think about it. But anyway, back to Bertha and Matthew, they decided to put their children into the public schools. And her husband was very artistic. He used to be a tailor, and he made a lot of their clothes for the girls. And when they went to the high school, two students at the high school, they had 7 children. All 7 of them were in school. Some was in high school, junior high school, and elementary. And I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, they caught hell at that school every day for years. They caught complete hell. Even some of the teachers were nasty to them, but they never gave up. They never gave up. And they would call them all kinds of names. They threw spitballs at them, but they stood their ground, and they finished the high school and went to the Ole Miss University of Mississippi, Ole Miss. And you know what happened doing that when James Meredith tried to get into that school. President Kennedy said in America, everybody ought to be able to go to any school that he wishes if he or she can qualify. But that made no difference. So let me tell you what they did. When the federal court said they had to integrate the school, then they came up with like that mess they had in Chatham County. And one of the worst things they ever done, in my judgment, is start the busing, where white kids and black kids to live together, respect one another. But I can never forget how Mr. Law was so angry. WW was really angry when several board members from a dead. Now I don't talk to them. I don't bring down the dead people. But they voted, said we had a unitary school system. Unitary school system. We don't have no unitary school system, as far as I'm concerned. But we didn't create the housing problem. If they had allowed people to live where they want to live, we never would have had this problem. Never would have had this problem. Even Trump, if he had not messed with those records and let them stay where they were supposed to, we would be dealing with this problem today. So anyway, the freedom of choice. So they said we're going to the choice and put our children in school. And then some of the white people in Mississippi say things like, oh, we ain't got to worry about these schools being integration. Freedom of choice. They don't have the nerve to put nobody, a black child, in one of these white schools. But Matthew and his wife, they didn't pay that no attention. They put their children in the elementary and high school and junior high school. That's what they did with their children. And when they graduated and went to Mississippi, this years later, the University of Mississippi honored that lady, honored Miss Carter for what she did. So they realized how they were, and they honored her. So they want to mention to you about this wonderful lady, both of these ladies. Miss Bridge. Miss Bridge was with Hamilton County. They fired her from her job as a motel lady, and her husband working for the filling station. Mrs. Carter. They fired her. The man took them, give them so many minutes to get off their plantation with sharecropping, and beat him out his money. Time finding some type of job, and also Mr. Briggs worked at a filling station, him. So they took all those repercussions against these people because they stood up for justice. Average brother, one of us, do not know any of these people. But we're benefiting for what they did. We're benefiting for the school system for what they did. Because when these laws were appealed, Thurgood Marshall appealed to the Supreme Court, and they had to abide by the law. So our hats should go off to them because they were very outstanding citizens. And I thought I'd mention that to you about this book, Civil Rights. They called it the Civil Rights of this lady. It was an organization on the base of Atlanta, a family organization. And they later say, well, that's civil to them. And we're going to give them all our support. And that's what they did. So these people, Miss Bridges, Miss Liz Bridges, and May Bertha, 2 fine women that their names will go down in history of what they did for the black race in this nation. And I wanted y'all to know about them because I know many of you never heard of them. So I thought I'd talk about this book tonight and let you know. Anybody know about any of these books, they can call me and I'll give you the author name and you can buy the books and read. And that's what we need to do. Read more than know about our people. That's what we need to do as a race. I can tell you that up front. Now, next thing I want to talk about is we've had a lot of people helping black people achieve justice in this country. Also, we still had this about abortion. We must get out and vote. We must get out and vote. Now, we've had a lot of organizations that worked along with black people to achieve all of these victories that we've had. For one of the most important organizations was ACLU, American Civil Liberties Union. They filed a brief when Thurgood March and NAACP filed a brief in court to integrate the schools. They filed a brief along with the NAACP Educational Fund to integrate the schools and do away with segregation in this nation. And they've already, a lot of times, they fought for a lot of the rights that we enjoy today, American Civil Liberties Union. And also, an organization that was very instrumental was this organization here. In fact, I remember that one. I also remember this one, it's Southern Popular Law Center. Now, this is an organization that fight right today for voting rights, for justice. And let me tell you what the organization did. This lady lost her son. The Ku Klux Klan murdered her son. And this organization case up and went to the court. And this lady, a judgment against the Klan, and they had to surrender their monies and to her. She took over their own building. That's what she had. They lost it because of what they had done to her son. So that's the organization. Then when I look at Savannah, where we live, I was a part of this organization here too, the Political Advisory Council. That's where we made a lot of the changes in Savannah. Well, we were the first city to have sit-ins. They were arrested and all of that. But Dr. King said Savannah was the most integrated city in the South at that time. We had black police officers. All this in the South. It makes me bones when I think about they're running all over the world talking about democracy. Mr. Putin, I can show you the Time magazine last month I got. Putin said that they're talking about they're critical. America's hypocritical. Hypocrisy. Talking about freedom and democracy and the way they all people, black people in this country. So, and you can think about it. I remember when President Kennedy went to the United Nations, and he was saying that he apologized to all these black ambassadors that came from other countries to this country to serve their governments and support America. And they couldn't even go and dinners and none of these restaurants to eat lunch. It was embarrassing. This country has been embarrassed. And I'm telling you, if you read the history, Rome was one of the most powerful countries the world has ever produced. But they failed. And America's going to fail if we don't straighten up and fly right. God is sick of America. Where they're shooting down black people just like they're on the frying range or hunting and getting away with it. That's the sad thing about it. And NAACP has fought all of these cases. And that happens when you put pressure, like Frederick Douglass said, that how can we become a great people if we fail to understand our past? We'd have to do that. I'll tell you that power gives up anything. It has to be demand. The press will have to demand to get away from it. And we can do that by sticking together as a race of people. We would not have been able to do the things we do. I think about during the 60s, we had the organization CORE with Mr. Farmer. They're the one integrated the bus, took their lives on Greyhound bus, got in Alabama, Estonia, Alabama, and the white folks set the Greyhound bus on fire. The people, terrible. And Robert Kennedy was the Attorney General at that time and had to get the marshals in there. And then you had the SNCC, John Lewis was a member of the SNCC organization. They had the student coordinated organization. Did sit-ins, ride the bus, and all of that in the interstate commerce. And they won those cases. These people had made great sacrifices for our nation. And then march on Washington, and which was by Byron Rustin, a brilliant man, and Randolph, Philip Randolph, who was head of the Pullman organization, labor union, did with the fellows that worked on the trains. So all these great people made all these contributions. And then I think about, I told you about the past. These things do. I can tell you direct, it goes off all the time. Now at this moment, I'm going to talk about giving credit to this, in my judgment, women. We cannot do a lot of things without the women. I can tell you that. If all the women got out the churches, they're shut down. I'm telling you, the women keep the churches going, believe it or not. But I want to say, I wish that a lot of these young people will listen to some of these names I'm about to recognize and say to you, look up, read about them, because you do who may emulate you. You may say a young lady looking at you, watching you, she says, I want to be a person like that person. You see, somebody has to have somebody to emulate. So I read about all these women. Some of them I met, some of them not met. But I read about them. And I know about them. And I want you, I'm going to give credit to a lot tonight on this show. Because they are the back in the society. God bless the women.
Go ahead.
Well, again, I'm sorry again. We're having a technical problem in these computers tonight for some reason. But I do want to tell you about some of these outstanding women and what they did to society. And we'll talk about these national women and our local women. First one I'm going to talk about tonight is, now some people can write these names down and let your children look them up. Sometimes they used to have to do things are different than when I went to school. We had to do book reports on a particular person. But anyway, I'm going to tell you about this lady here, Mrs. Dorothy Height, Heighc. She died last year, the year before. She was president of the National League of Negro Women. They did things to inspire and uplift the women, the black women of this nation. And then, of course, we all know Ms. Kamala Harris, Vice President of the United States, first woman Vice President of the United States. And all of us know about Ms. Rosa Parks. Ms. Rosa Parks, who refused to give her seat up to a white man. Think about that. To a man. Ridiculous. In America. And of course, Ms. Marion Anderson was a great poet. She wrote many poets. She was at President Obama's inauguration as the President of the United States and read one of her poems that she wrote. And also the young lady, she died last year, with Linda Brown. I have a photo on talks and lectures that I do where she was sitting in the living room with her daddy on the stand up on the sofa. And Mr. Brown was the minister holding the Bible, and his wife was sitting in a chair doing some needlework. She was the one that her daddy integrated the schools, and the Supreme Court came down with the Brown versus Education. And it was in Topeka, Kansas. She died last year, this year one. I think it was this year. And also, we know about the great work that Harriet Tubman did, took many slaves out of slavery. She took many of them that they were looking for her, they offered money for her, tried to find her, and they never could capture her. And she took over 100 slaves out of slavery. And of course, that lady, Miss Sojourner Truth, was another person, slave person, that worked to release people out of slavery. So we had a lot of people made all kinds of sacrifices for our race. And we have a great race of people. We've done a lot of great things in this world. Black people. When you think about, and I got to do it, I keep saying I'm going to do it. I got to do it this year. Quit making that lie to myself. And that is the American Red Cross. I called one day and I asked the lady, I said, let me ask you a question. I used to give a lot of blood one time. And I asked the lady, I said, do you all have a picture of Dr. Charles Drew in that Red Cross building? Oh, yes, we have, but I got to find out. I keep saying I'm going to do it. Now, did I move the Red Cross in my neighborhood? Now, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go in there and see for myself. It's not in there. I'm going to say, somebody told me a lie. So there was a picture of Dr. Drew. And you wouldn't have a Red Cross blood bank if it had not been for him. A black man developed the Red Bank, Dr. Charles Drew. I'm going to find out for myself. And I'm going to tell you the next show I have next month, if I live to do it, I'm going to give you the information. It's a picture of him in there. She told a lie. And also that, I intend to say Harriet Tubman is supposed to be on a $20 bill. I don't know why. It's supposed to happen on this year. It hadn't happened yet. I got to find out why that has not happened. And I would like to put in the paper, any white person who do not want to carry this $20 bill because the black woman is on it, you can leave it at Trust Company Bank in my name. And I know all the people at the Trust Bank where I bank, and I'll get that money. So if you don't want to carry that black woman in your wallet, when the $20 bill comes into existence, then leave it to me in my name. I'd be glad to pick it up. Now, also, we all know about Miss Coretta Scott King. She suffered very bad with her husband, the way they did her husband. She suffered, but she carried on to work in her husband's name. Now she's deceased, but her name will go down. A lot of these people's names will be down in history. They made great contributions to the black race. Now, this is the one here, and I'm glad the average person may not know, because this had to do in Jimmy Carter's administration, and later died right after Carter lost the election. That didn't have anything to do with it. She had cancer, and what I read about. Her name was Patricia Harris. She was the first black woman, period, anybody in the president's cabinet. And she was appointed by Gilbert Carter. She was in the Department of Health and Human Services. Patricia Harris, nice-looking black lady. She was wonderfully educated, and she did a superb job while she was in that position as a woman in President Carter's cabinet. And then we have Mrs. Constance Motley. I had an opportunity to meet her, and I communicate with her. I got several letters from her. She and I communicated. I wrote to her law died. She wrote to me. She saw that in the Jet magazine, and I met her. She came to Savannah to argue the case for Fred Wessels to get in that other project down there, and they didn't want no black people in it. So she argued that case, and also she argued the case, which I would tell when I start telling you about this young man who tried to get into the University of Mississippi, and she argued that case merited. And I'm reading that book now, and I'll tell you something about him and her work with this book when I finish it. Then, of course, we have the great lady singer, Marion Anderson, a superb voice. She had a contralto voice. Voices have different range and different, some of soprano, alto. This lady was contralto voice. And her voice was so superb that the great conductor of the Symphony Orchestra, Toscanini, he was the New York Philharmonic Orchestra, Toscanini. He said that her voice comes once in 100 years. So think about that. Once in a century. But you know what they did to Marion Anderson? You know what they did to Marion Anderson? The daughters of the American Revolution, a bunch of racist white folk. You know what they did to her? They would not allow her to sing in Constitutional Hall, the building that they owned, because she was a black woman. We keep saying that this is supposed to be democracy, it's supposed to be in America. And what Mrs. Roosevelt did, Mrs. Roosevelt was a member of the Daughters of the American Revolution, and she resigned from that organization. And Marion Anderson, in the wintertime, stood with Martin Luther King, made that I Have a Dream speech. And hundreds of people came to hear her sing. And she finally wound up in the Metropolitan Opera House as a singer in one of the programs that they had when they're doing the operas. Marion Anderson. Don't forget that name. Great singer, Marion Anderson. Now I'm going to tell you about this lady. Perhaps a lot of y'all don't know, in the 50s, was Miss Daisy Bates in Arkansas. She and her husband had a newspaper business. And what she did, she involved herself with the children that were integrated into Little Rock High School. Terrible. Right again, in America, the great country of America. Much of racism. She would take these children under her wings and took them to school every day and brought them back. Miss Daisy Bates. And during that time, with all that hell that they raised, for 2 children coming into the school, 7 children, 5 or 7, and President Eisenhower had to call in the National Guard to protect those children. And as a matter of fact, Governor Forbes at that time was the governor, put the troops right in the school, and Eisenhower federalized them. He took his army away from him. And those children went to school. As a matter of fact, what Bill Clinton did when he was doing his administration, he went in there and he stood in that door and opened the door, let the children come in, and just as a gesture. But they had already integrated the schools. But it was hell the children caught every day in the school. All of that because God made us a different color. You got to realize when you condemn creation that God created, you're condemning God. They don't know that. God would have been a lonely God if he only had one race of people. He would have been a lonely God because after all, we are God's greatest creation, the human being, because men are made in his image. And all these men in doing a bunch of hell. And that's exactly where they're going if they don't change their lives. God made all kinds of things. Fish. He didn't make no one type of fish. He made all type of fish, and every fish got a different taste. Then he made fish for enjoyment, like the goldfish and stuff. All the birds, a million types of birds. God would have been a lonely God if he only made one bird. That type of bird, or one type of people. You don't tell. I told a white man one time, you get mad with God, not me. I didn't make myself. You condemn God. And that's what they're doing. Like I told you before, Rome was a great country. But we're going to be falling from the inside. Morality is going in this country. Mars going into this country. Then there's a debate. And because I told you before about Miss Fannie Lou Hamer. That woman was a sharecropper woman, but she believed in voting. And she went to a restaurant in Charleston, and they arrested her because it was a segregated restaurant. And they took that woman to jail and beat that woman in the jailhouse. Terrible. Like I said again, this is a great country of America. And the Congress sat down there for years and years and not do anything. When I think about this country, had 48 states and 13 states. So you got 200 senators, 100 senators, 2 from each state. And you had 26 states and 70-some states that the 28 states do what they want to do. Should have been had civil rights bills years ago. Now we need to talk about Madam C.J. Walker. Now, we have all kinds of things that new hair do it all this time, but that woman invented the straight comb. She was the first black woman millionaire, and she developed a lot of hair products that black women use. Madam Walker, C.J. Walker. She was a millionaire, and she was very noted throughout the country. And she developed products for the hair. I'm sorry again for the technicals we've been having. I don't know whether the weather has an effect on these machines or not, but I wanted to recognize our local women. You know, these women, now let me make this point clear. This has nothing to do, I'm not talking about no agenda or their personal philosophy, their political stance or anything. I'm just recognizing them for the stand that they took in the community. 90-something% of these women I know, just about every one of them. And if I want to recognize them because I ran for office one time, I didn't win, but I didn't get bitter. People chose who they wanted to do. And maybe I had enough more money to do what I might have won. But that had nothing to do with my love for my community, my working in my community, and to respect these women who do an outstanding job and has done an outstanding job. And I know just about every one of them. And I'm going to start off talking to these women here, call their names out, and things that they've done with city councils or whatever. And I'm going to call their names and give them special praise and recognition for the things they've done in this community. They just didn't jump up something and run for office. They had to do something, had to be concerned about some issue, that they want to try to correct the issue, and they have a right to do that. And some of these outstanding women, I'm going to start off with with Mrs. Laura Gilbert, Dr. Gilbert's wife, the gentleman pastor of First Time Baptist Church, who did so much in Savannah, so much in Georgia. And she went all over Georgia getting memberships of the NAACP when Dr. Gilbert started NAACP back. She was outstanding. And then, of course, she was a friend of mine. She's deceased now, Miss Abby Jordan. She was a professor at college, Savannah University, and she had a lot to do with erecting that statue down on the riverfront by blacks coming into Georgia. And she deceased now, Ms. Dietha Below. She was a state representative, and outstanding Senator Regina Thomas. She was very outstanding, personal friend of mine. I know all these women, but she's a personal friend of mine, and she did a lot bringing funds into Chatham County. And there's Mrs. Diane Harvey, another great senator lady who did an outstanding job bringing funds into this nation. She has this organization, the Hungry Club. She has made great contributions to this community. And then I have to meet our former mayor, Edna Jackson. I worked with her very much when she was working with the Political Advisory Council. And I want everybody to know she would get on that radio. And that's when we had a council. And I showed you the ballot that we had with the Political Advisory Council. And Edna Jackson was extremely, extremely outstanding. We encouraging people to come and vote. We did a superb job. And then, of course, my friend Alicia Blakely, she's a council lady. Respect her views. And there's Miss Keisha Gibson Carter. She was on my show last month. And then there's the late Dina Frazier. She was a good county commission lady. I'll give this one to Dina. She was not afraid to speak out. She would speak out. And of course, she's dead now, Miss Frances Bright Johnson. She was in the demonstrations when I was out there demonstrating. But these people who enjoying, let me tell y'all something. These people who enjoying all of these benefits that poor people like myself and others made a sacrifice, that you enjoying what we scuffle to do. You enjoying that. Many of you people weren't even alive, and many of them were alive, sat back and did nothing. And now they're enjoying. I recognize these women. Let me see another one here, which Miss Mercedes. Right at that time, she's married now again, and her married name is Anna. Let me tell you about Mercedes. Mercedes was one of the ones that was the coordinator when we were doing all our sit-ins and our marchings. Mercedes was outstanding. She was here several years ago, but she was here several years ago, and she spoke at First Time Baptist Church, and it was crowded, and she spoke. And of course, the late Gwen Goodman, she was served as a superintendent. I knew her well. She served as a superintendent of school for a while, and then our present superintendent, Miss Ann Levette, doing a superb job. And I want all of the board members to work with that lady. Then the other man who was the president of the board, he don't particularly care for that woman. And I was talking about him when doing the election. But then also we got our older lady, Miss Shabazz, Miss Estella Shabazz. Mayor Pro Tem. She was a wonderful lady. She's my representative to come to speak. She's a very outstanding lady as far as I'm concerned. Also, let's see now my eyes here. We have Miss she's also I didn't know this till she just told me that Miss Shabazz is Mayor Pro Tem of the City Council. And also we have Miss Esther Garrison. She had me to put all her plaques on the wall in her house for her. She was very outstanding. She was a secretary of the NAACP. And of course, she was on the board for many years, and they got a school named after her. And then we have Miss Priscilla Thomas. Miss Priscilla Thomas, a friend of mine. She and her husband are friends of mine. Miss Priscilla Thomas was a very outstanding county commission lady. She helped organize a group where the young people learn about government, how government functions, how government works. Now she's retired, she and her husband, and I wish her well, Miss Priscilla Thomas. And then, of course, we got Miss Annette Brock, nice lady, wonderful lady, friend of mine. She served temporarily as president of Savannah State College. These are people that made contributions in our community, and I want to recognize them. Not about their political belief, their philosophy, their agenda. I want to recognize what they do, because you have to make a decision to go out and do a thing to run for office. Something had to inspire you to want to make change and to get involved. And also, my co-host, Ms. Pat Gunn, she and I are very good friends. She has this tour group. She was recognized by Forbes magazine. That's one of the biggest magazines in the country. On her tour, people come from all over the world. I was in the car with her one day getting ready to talk about my show, and she received a call from a lady in Kentucky. Want to come and go through her walkthrough tour here at Savannah. And also, I'll let people know sometime next year around the spring, I hope, she's looking forward that she will be featured on Georgia Public Radio. They interviewed her, set up everything in my house, makeup and everything. Looked like this was a studio for making movies. Cameras everywhere. People flew over from New York and everything. And right here in my house. And I want you to know that this documentation will take place sometime next year on Georgia Public Radio. And I want to congratulate for that for her. And also, I think about my good friend too, Ms. Pat Mathis. She's a construction woman. And I want you to know that I went to Albany and she constructed the City Hall and Library in Albany. I mean, they're beautiful buildings. Ms. Pat Mathis. So these are women that have done a great job. Now let's look at our educational system here. We have Dr. Tony Howard Hall on the Board of Education, doing a great job. I admire her for that. She just won re-election. And also we have Ms. Dion Hoskin. She's on the board. And also I met her. And also, I think she's one of the ladies came to my house. I believe she was. And also, my good friend, Miss Connie Hall. She and her husband are very my good friends. So I know just about all these people here. But I honor them because these women stood and these women did a good job in this community. And they had to have something to challenge them that they wanted to run for office. And every one of them, I know 90% of these women that I know personally. And I want to compliment them and honor them. And just came to my mind the other day, I said, while I was working on my show, that I'm going to honor women. And I want you women to know that the people in this community do respect you. Do respect you. We're not talking about philosophy. We're not talking about agenda. We're not talking about political thinking. I'm talking about they had the audacity to offer themselves up as a person in this community to serve, to make our community a better place to live. Now, in our closing, I'm sorry again. I want to apologize for the technical problems that we had tonight. Sometimes it does happen. I have be watching on my television, direct TV, it goes off all the time. So the weather's been bad too, so that might have affected it. So I want to have in my closing tonight. I want to apologize again for what happened tonight, but let us continue to work on justice and equality of opportunity to become a reality. We must participate. We must vote. Now, ladies, I'm talking to all the ladies in this city, everywhere who hear my voice, and you must tell other women that the Supreme Court has dismantled the abortion law that's been in existence for over 50 years. So you got to get out and vote. You got to put the Democrats in where we have enough senators to pass in the House of Representatives to pass a law that will make abortion a law of the land. But if you sit down and don't vote and you become pregnant, something happens. Some states got a law that they will not let you get abortion if you got raped. Now you think about your daughter get raped by a thug, can't have an abortion. You think your daughter get raped by her uncle. Some daddies having raped the children. We got to get rid of this. We got to get out and vote. So I'm going to tell you the main thing to do is this right here. Vote. Because vote matters. Voting matters. And you got to tell everybody got to get a vote if you never voted before. Look what happened in Kansas. The women got out 100% vote. You got to get out and vote. You can't sit on this here now. If you women get pregnant, can't have an abortion. Somebody rape you, can't have an abortion. We don't want to have a baby from some thug rape her. You got to have that abortion. And some judge the other day passed a law. They took her to the court. This young lady was 11 years old, but they didn't say whether she was raped now on her case. But what they did, the judge passed a decision and said she could not have an abortion because she's not matured enough. But she could have the baby because she's matured. Isn't that something? Said she could not have an abortion because she was not matured enough to have an abortion. I don't understand that decision. But she could be matured, a baby having a baby. That's all it was. Thanks. I want to thank y'all for listening to Straight Talk with Grover Thornton. And hopefully next month, I will not have a lot of these technical problems, but I will apologize again. But a lot of time, it's the weather. Other technical things do happen. But anyway, I hope that you enjoyed what you did hear of the show. And hopefully I'll see you next month. Thank you very much. Yeah, my show didn't worth nothing tonight.
I like that.